On a snow-kissed Christmas Eve, the little town of Red Maple glowed like a postcard. Warm light spilled from frosted windows, casting golden halos onto the sidewalk where flakes drifted down like whispers from the sky. Inside Rosie's diner, cinnamon and coffee danced in the air, mingling with the low murmur of clinking dishes and quiet holiday tunes. Twinkling lights wrapped around candy-striped booths, while families huddled close over hot cocoa and turkey platters. Joe was thick in the air, but at the far booth near the window, beneath the glow of a flickering candle, sat one woman whose eyes searched the door like it held her last hope. She smoothed the folds of her red scarf, trying to steady the trembling in her hands. Her name was Elena, and she had spent nearly 40 minutes convincing herself to show up. Her lipstick matched the red trim of her winter coat, and the soft curls in her hair had taken an hour to perfect. She was supposed to be meeting someone, a man her friend swore would be different from the rest. But now, as the hands of the diner clock slid past the hour, that hope began to slip from her fingers like melting snow. Elena's smile had faded long ago, replaced by that forced stillness people wear when they're trying not to cry in public. The menu in front of her hadn't been touched. Her tea had gone cold, and still no one came. She wasn't invisible, though. Heads turned. Whispers floated like steam from a kettle. A waitress gave her a sympathetic glance before retreating. At the counter, a couple chuckled and shook their heads, assuming what they wanted about a woman alone on Christmas Eve. Elena adjusted her scarf again, if only to hide the way her chin had begun to tremble. Just as the bell above the door chimed, Elena's heart lifted too quickly. A tall man in a charcoal coat entered, glancing around with a nervous energy. He spotted her, hesitated, then walked over. For a fleeting moment, Elena felt air return to her lungs. But when he sat down, he didn't smile. He didn't even take off his coat. "Yeah, listen," he mumbled, eyes darting. "You're not what I expected." Elena blinked. "Excuse me." He shifted uncomfortably. "You just look different than your photo. I thought this would feel different." The sentence landed like sleet against glass, cold, abrupt, cracking. Before she could find a word, he stood up. "I'm sorry. I just don't think this is gonna work," he muttered, already backing toward the door. And just like that, he left. Silence fell around her table. Even the holiday music seemed to dim. Somewhere, a spoon clinked against porcelain at a nearby booth. A young couple exchanged an awkward glance. Elena's hands dropped into her lap. Her breath trembled as she tried to gather herself, but shame burned behind her eyes, hotter than the tea ever had. A boy at the counter stifled a laugh. A waitress lingered nearby, unsure whether to approach, and Elena couldn't move. She was humiliated on Christmas Eve in a room full of warmth with no warmth left for her. From across the diner, a little girl had been watching. She couldn't have been more than 7. Bundled in a pink puffer jacket with a candy cane clasped in one hand, her boots dangled off the edge of the booth where she sat with her father, a man with work rough in hands and a jacket 2 sizes too big. They'd been sharing a plate of fries and laughing softly over silly Christmas napkin doodles until now. The girl leaned in and whispered something to her dad. He looked over quietly, carefully. His eyes settled on Elena just as she reached for a napkin to dab at the corner of her eye. Without another word, the girl slid out of the booth and marched toward her. Elena didn't see her at first until she felt a tug at her sleeve. She looked down. The little girl tilted her head, voice soft but sure. "You don't have to be alone. My daddy says Christmas is for everybody." The diner fell silent. Then the man stood, tall and kind-eyed, and walked over to join them. "Hope you don't mind," he said gently, "but my daughter thinks you could use a little Christmas company." Elena's lips parted, but no words came, just a soft, breathless laugh that cracked through the sadness. Her eyes shimmered, not from shame now, but from something far warmer. She nodded, and the girl beamed. The man helped Elena up, and together they walked back to the booth, where space was quickly cleared and hearts opened even faster. The little girl handed Elena half her candy cane and insisted she try the fries because they're magic when shared. No one whispered now. In fact, a nearby table smiled. A waitress wiped her cheek behind the counter, and the couple that had once stared in pity now watched with admiration. Kindness spread like the scent of cinnamon rolls, fresh from the oven, quiet, comforting, and impossible to ignore. Elena no longer felt invisible. She was wanted, welcomed, seen, and somehow, despite everything, This Christmas Eve had given her something she hadn't dared hope for. Not love, not romance, but connection, the kind that matters more in a world where people are too often judged by appearances or left behind when they need someone most. It takes only a moment and a small voice to remind us what truly matters. Sometimes, kindness doesn't roar in with grand gestures. Sometimes, it walks over in snow boots, clutching a candy cane, and says, "You don't have to be alone." And just like that, hearts heal. So if you see someone sitting in silence this season, maybe all they need is an invitation to belong, a little warmth, a little courage, a little girl who noticed. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share it with someone who still believes in kindness. What would you have done in this situation? Tell us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Acts of Kindness for more true stories that restore your faith in humanity. Asterisk.